Hello everyone, welcome back to Timing Era. If today is your first time, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. If you're a returning viewer, thank you very much for staying with us. I am glad to share that we are a happy 10,000 subscribers now. Thank you all for your support. Today I'm going to dive into an important topic, that is how to pass your F1 visa interview. And I'm going to break it into 3 points, that is your eligibility as a student, your finances, and your roots or ties. Let's get into it. So the first point is eligibility as a student. Eligibility as a student here means that the visa officer wants to find out your genuineness as a student. He wants to know, or she wants to know, whether you are indeed going to study and you know much about the course you are going to study, or you are passionate about it. So he's going to come up with a series of questions to assess you as being a genuine student or not. And these are the questions he will ask you. Tell me about your program. Why this program? Why this school? Tell me about your school. And then in doing so, he'll follow up with questions. He'll ask of your documents to prove, to see indeed you were admitted. And then to see also indeed on what basis were you admitted. He can ask these questions. How many schools did you apply to? And then he'll ask you, he can follow up and ask, why did you choose this particular school? If you apply to a lot of schools, let's say you apply to Harvard, you apply to the University of Pennsylvania, you apply to all those things, and then you chose to attend this school. Why that school? So all these are assessing your eligibility as a student. So make sure that you have all the documents, and you have all. If you have SATs, if you have GMAT, if you've written SAT and GMAT, go with them. Prove to them that indeed you were qualified for it, and then you have intentions for your studies, and there's a reason why you want to go to the state. And then you have also intentions of returning back. We'll come to that. So once you're able to prove all this to them, then the visa is convinced that indeed you are a genuine student, and that you are not finding a way to move or immigrate into the country. So that is it for eligibility as a student. Now let's talk about finances. We all know how important finances are to education. We all know how expensive education is, especially in the States. So for you to go and study there as an international student, the visa officer expects you to have enough funding to cater for the duration of which you stay and study in the state. So he will assess you holistically, and these are some of the questions he will ask you to assess your financial eligibility. He will ask you, who is funding you? Now don't be confused. Some of you have full funding. If he asks you, or if she asks you, who is funding you, just mention the scholarship you were given as your sponsor. So for instance, if he asks you, if you have a full funding and he asks you who is funding you, you can just say, oh, I was granted a full blah 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 scholarship that is covering my tuition fees and accommodation. You are done. If that is not the case, you have been given a partial funding, which sometimes ranges from 90, and it's not 100%. In that case, the remaining amount you need to pay is called deficit, and that amount you need to demonstrate in a bank statement, or you need to get a sponsor to sponsor you the remaining amount that you need to pay. So when the visa officer asks you that, how are you going to, who is going to fund you? If you have funding, if you have partial scholarship, you can start this way. I was given an amount of scholarship for this. And the remaining deficit or the remaining money that I need to pay will be sponsored by so and so. Then you prove with a bank statement or a letter. Other than that, it will be a problem. So you ask you who is funding you, how are you going to pay for your studies? If you have scholarship and he's aware and he doesn't want to stress you, he can just go ahead and ask, how did you get the scholarship? And that one you have to prove to him how you were able to get the scholarships. So these are all assessing you to see that you are financially prepared, so that when you go to the state, you won't get stranded. So these are also questions that come up, the visa officer uses to assess you, to know that indeed you are capable of sponsoring your education whilst in the state, and that you won't go and be stranded, or you won't go and drop out and to engage in illegal jobs and stuff. So this is an important aspect of the whole F1 visa interview. So with this, you need to prepare quickly. Even with the sponsor, if he asks you, there are so many follow-up questions that comes with the sponsor. He can ask, have your sponsor sponsored someone before? You want to know if indeed your sponsor is capable. And he can also ask, how much does your sponsor earn annually? How many workers does he have? And then how many children does he have? How many of those children are in college? All is done to assess your sponsor's capacity to sponsor you, whilst also sponsoring others. So it's left for to you to assess your sponsor. If your sponsor capacity is not that high, get additional sponsor. You can have a co-sponsor, so that when you go, the two can be strong enough to be able to foot your bills or your expenses whilst you school in the state. So with this, you can be assured that point 2, which is finances, is well covered and you are in good standard. So let's get to the finances, which is your roots or ties. Remember, I divided this discussion into 3 sections. Your eligibility as a student as the first point, finances as the second point, and your roots or ties is the final point we discussed. And this root or ties refers to, as the name suggests, roots or ties is something that brings you back where you origin. What brings you back? That's what they want to know. If you are going to study, you'll be given a non-immigrant visa, and the non-immigrant means that you will have to return to your home country immediately you finish your studies. So you can't stay back because it's not an immigrant visa. So non-immigrant means that in proving to the visa officer, there should be something that brings you back to your home country. So these are the questions that will come up as your family member live in the state. Now, don't be discouraged if all your family members are living in the state. It doesn't mean that if your family members are all living in the state, if you go, they won't give you visa. And if you are filling your DS-160 form, I'll talk about that. I'll do another video to talk about the DS-160, the errors you should make. Make sure that if you have relatives in the state, indicate them. Don't go and say, I don't want them to know that my relatives are in the state. If not, they will think that I'm trying to immigrate. No, indicate them. When it gets to the root or the ties, you should have a concrete plan. If you are going to study, for instance, nursing, there should be a reason you are going to study the nursing. And there should already be planned. You should have already planned something in your home country that when you return with that knowledge, you will manifest it. So if you don't have that concrete plan, then it means that already you are just trying to move there, get the knowledge. And if you are given an opportunity, it's likely that you stay back. So you should have a plan. You should think of something in your community. Most of the time, they want to see that you have seen a problem. And in that problem you have seen in your community, You want to go and gain the knowledge, come back and help solve that problem. Or you are setting up a project, you are setting up a company that you want to go just to gain the knowledge and come back and say that. So all these are ties. You can also tell them you have family here, if you have husband, if you have children here, if you have company here, if all the things that you have here that are likely to bring you back are ties of which you have land, you have property. Sometimes if you don't have all those things, but your goal, your ambition, if it's well explained and articulated, it will convince the visa officer that indeed, because of this you want to do, there's nothing that would let you stay back, even if all your family members are in the state. So you should be able to prove that this is what I want to do. They can ask you, how will your cause be beneficial to your home country? You can even ask you, will you work if given the opportunity to work in the state? Be honest. Yes, you should be honest. Yeah, I mean honest. You know what I'm talking about. Don't go and tell them yes, you work, because the visa type you are taking there is non-immigrant. So immediately you tell them yes, you work, then you have given them a reason not to give you the visa. So the roots of ties is something that you should demonstrate. Now, in answering your questions, all the questions that you can think of, divide them into these 3 sections: your eligibility as a student, your roots, your finances. And any question that will come, if you're able to group it into these 3 sessions, you can easily know what to say and how to say it. It's very important. If you know that this question coming is from finances, you will know how to answer it. If you know it's from eligibility as a student, you will know how to answer it. If you know that it's from finance, you will know how to answer it. So you can have a master answers for the 3 sessions: eligibility as a student, finances, and roots, so that when the question comes, you can easily modify the answer to fit the question. And when you do this, you won't have to stress learning so many things, like trying to answer so many questions. Just know this basic, these 3 basic steps, and then try to categorize the plenty questions you see on the internet into it. Have 3 master answers for it, and then you'll be able to flow naturally when you're answering, because you know that this question is coming from this direction. In wrapping up, preparation is very key for your F1 visa interview. Make sure you are prepared adequately. Make sure you have rehearsed your answers. Make sure you have understood what you are going to say, and make sure that what you are going to say is in line with what you wrote in your DS 160. When you do this, you are prepared adequately. Make sure you have enough sleep. And then on that day, flow naturally. Have a conversation with the visa officer, and in that conversation, be able to prove your roots, be able to prove your finances, be able to prove your ties. Thank you very much. If you are a new subscriber, don't forget to hit the subscription button. If you are an old subscriber, thank you for having trust, for staying with us all this while. We are going to bring you amazing content moving forward. Don't forget to leave comments, and don't forget to like and share. Bye for now.